Good day, student. I'm so delighted to be with you this very good day. My name is Edu Triumph. I'm your contact tutor for Computer Literacy 1. I use this opportunity, this medium, to welcome you to the Institute for Open Learning, IOL, the best institute for distance education. At IOL, we taught others to copy. We take the lead. What is our business for the day? Today is a content-based class. In other words, examination-based content class. So what are we expected to do today? What is our expectation? What is our objective for the day? Objective for the day is for me as a tutor to equip you on how to prepare for the forthcoming examination. It's not a content-based presentation, it's examination-based presentation to guide you on how to approach the forthcoming examination. This presentation is for who? Why do I always put this? Because computer literacy is a compulsory subject for all teachers that are undergoing training. It's a compulsory subject for all IOL students. Therefore, I need to make the distinction very clear. So this presentation is for students that are taking Diploma in Junior Primary Education, DJPE CL11, Diploma in Early Childhood Education, DEC CL11, and Diploma in Secondary Education, DSE CL12. If you are a student in any of these, then this presentation is for you. So you sit down, relax. I'm going to be the captain, the pilot of the plane. This presentation is for which of the examination? This presentation is for the April, August, and November 2022 examination. What does that mean? It means that we do not have different presentations for different examinations. So whether you are going to take the April examination, the August examination, or the November examination comes 2022, this presentation is for you, as long as computer literacy is concerned. Let me sound a note of warning. This presentation is not an examination scope. Meaning, as a tutor, I'm not here to tell you that these are the topics you should read. Do not read or study this. I'm not here to give you the unit where questions will come from. It's not a scope. I'm here to guide you on how to prepare for the examination. As you are all aware, IOL is a distance education. Hence, we have introduced e-examination, electronic examination, where you write online, which started in the year 2021. So when you download your question paper, how will the examination question paper look like? The instruction should be read. Read the instruction. You'll be required, number one, to answer all the questions in the question paper. There will be no practical section during the examination. It means you will not be given computers, or you will not be given questions that requires you to work on computers. No practical session. However, There will be questions to test your practical skills. Let me give you an example. During the assignment period, by the way, I did not even congratulate you, those of you who passed your assignment. List of forgets. Congratulations for passing your assignment. That is why you are qualified to write this examination. Good. It's never too late to congratulate you. And I know you are going to pass this examination also. Amen, somebody. All right, let's get back to business again. I can ask you, if you remember the time I gave you the assignment, I gave you a practical work on Microsoft Excel. I gave you a practical work on Microsoft Word. You typed those things on Microsoft Word, you printed, you screenshot, and you submitted to me. Here, you are not going to do that during the examination. However, I can ask you your practical experience. I can ask you questions that examine your practical experience or skills. For example, I can ask you to explain, or let me say to describe, the basic steps on how to print a document. And I can ask you questions like to explain how to attach a file to an email that is to be sent. Those type of questions, they test, they examine your practical experience. So for you to pass those type of questions, what is necessary for you is to practice on the computer. The examination covers all the units in the module with questions selected across board. So, do not ignore any units by trying to have a misconception that questions will not come from this unit, question will only come from this unit, all this. No, it covers everything. You are expected to display competencies in all the units, in all the expected learning outcome. What are some of the things that will help you? What are some of the things that will guide you in this forthcoming examination? Let us discuss some of them. Number one, review your assignment questions. Review your assignment questions. What do I mean? I gave you a tutorial later with questions. Those assignments were marked. We sent them back to you. Now, when you receive your assignment booklet back or paper, you saw some specific questions that I made comment on. So I made comment on some of your papers, such as, this is not how to answer this question. This is what you should do. This is not what you should do. Answer it this way. Explain it this way. I gave some practical suggestions individually, depending on mistakes made. I want you to review your assignment question. One of the purposes of assignment in distance education is to prepare you for the examination. Your assignment and your examination takes the same format. So the format that comes with your assignment is the same format you're going to see when it comes to your examination. Hence, it is necessary for you to go through your assignment question paper again. Second point, pay attention to the assignment feedback received from the marker. Why is the feedback necessary? A feedback tells you common mistakes made by students and how to avoid such mistake in the future. So, after marking your assignment, I compiled together common mistakes that were made by students during the assignment. And I gave suggestions on how to do it better, how to avoid such pitfall. So if you go through the assignment feedback, it will help you from repeating such mistakes in the examination. So check the feedback. Where can you get the feedback from? Download them from your student portal of IOL. Read through them, especially the suggestions that I gave. Number 3, download past examination question papers. Why is downloading past examination question paper something that will help you? When you are going to fight a war, and you know the terrain you are going to fight, you know the demography, the geographical location, the terrain of that war, then it is easier for you as a soldier to be victorious. When you know where there are dangers in that place, it is easier for you to take precaution. Downloading past examination question paper expose you as a student to the structure of the question. It exposes you how questions are structured for the examination. You are exposed to how questions should be answered. So when you download past examination question paper of computer literacy, I can tell you something, beloved student. Try and compare 3 to 4 years question together. You're going to see some similarities. As long as the course outline is not reviewed, the question comes from the same course outline. All we do is to restructure, to reframe the questions. So download past exam question paper and attempt to answer them. But what I do not think is this: do not download past exam question papers, email them to me to answer and send back to you. No, that will not work. Download the question paper and attempt to answer them yourself. If you come across a question perhaps that seems difficult, if you come across a question that you cannot interpret, that you cannot answer, then you contact me, then I will guide you. But do not download a question, email me to answer and send back to you. You are not to examine me. I am to examine you. So me giving you the answers is not going to help you. You have to prepare by attempting. The military, it is said, train hard, fight easy. So when you use past examination question paper, you are training hard, then you fight easy. Number 4, get familiar with your course outline and module. What does that imply? If you look at your study guide, there you will see the expected learning outcome in your study guide. The expected learning outcome in secondary school syllabus, that is what it refers to as the objective. What are you supposed to know specifically in each of these topics? What are you expected to know? If you look at Unit 1, for example, you say your expected learning outcome, the learner should be able to define computer, to explain what is a computer virus, describe how to print a document, demonstrate how to send an email. So you can see the expected learning outcome is very much useful for you to know. Can I tell you a secret? Don't tell someone else that I told you. It's a secret between you and I only. Listen, I will tell you the secret. Listen, the questions are with you. Mr. Edo, the questions are not with us. How come the questions are with us? Yes, they are with you, but you don't know. Where do I get my question from? I get my question from the expected learning outcome, because a unit says the student should be able to discuss the advantages of computers. The student should be able to discuss the advantages of internet. The student should be able to describe how to prevent computers from viruses. I'm just trying to go through the expected learning outcome in your course module. So I'm going to pick my questions from the expected learning outcome. I want to see if you know what you are supposed to know. So the expected learning outcome already inform you what you should know. My work is to examine you to know if you know what you should know. Different types of know now. Do you understand what I'm saying now? I want to repeat it once again because it's very important. When students say that, I don't know that this question will come. You know that the question will come. You do not just prepare for it. Everything in the expected learning outcome can be asked. Opo. Everything in the expected learning outcome can be asked. So, this is what you should do. By the time you are done listening to this presentation, take your study guide. When you take your study guide or your course outline, look at the expected learning outcome, unit by unit. What are the lesson objectives there? The lesson objective, the expected learning outcome already itemize what and what you should know. How to open a folder, how to rename a folder, all those things that are in your expected learning outcome. This is what you should do. Take your pencil. How to open a folder. Do I know it? Can I explain it? Because it's one thing to know it, it's another thing to explain. Can I explain it? You tick. Yes. How to rename a folder. Do I know how to rename a folder? I tick. How to save a document. Do I know how to save a document? No, I don't know. What do you do? Go back to the study guide. Look at the steps in your study guide on how to rename a how to save a document. Practice it. Get used to it. Now go back to the expected learning outcome. Do I know how to save a document? Yes, you tick it. Gradually, you go through all the study expected learning outcome, then you can say, yes, I know everything here. Do not skip any of them. Another thing, when you look at your expected learning outcome, pay attention to the examination words like this. Words like discuss, evaluate, describe, distinguish, differentiate. They are there. These verbs are in your expected learning outcome. If an expected learning outcome says, for example, outline how to do this, describe how to, when I'm going to put up my question paper, is the same expected learning outcome verbs that I'm going to use. If a question says a student should be able to demonstrate how to send an email, it's the same way I'm going to rephrase it to test you. I've spoken enough about the expected learning outcome. While you are trying to do all these things that I have just mentioned, as a student, there is a possibility that you might get stuck. You might not know what to do at a certain stage. That is what I am employed for at IUL. I'm employed as your computer literacy tutor to assist you. So don't say you are bothering me. No, I am doing what I'm employed for. So contact me so that I can guide you, so that I can prepare you. Stop these things of coming to call me, to SMS a day before the examination. No, start now. Mr. Edo, I tried doing this, but I can't get it right. Thank God we have team today. We can meet on team, then I will explain to you. I can make a short video and post it on, publish it on team. You can download it and watch it. Things are more easier these days in this technological world. That is why it's good for you to get your Office 365 from IOL. There you have access to team so that we can meet on team. It shouldn't be only these 35 minutes or 40 minutes or 1 hour that I spend on the studio talking to you. No. We can meet on team. I can guide you more. So make good use of your team. Get your Office 365. I'm not trying to do a promo or advice for IOL, but I'm telling you the reality, what can help you here. I'm sure you get the message very right. Good. There will be a multiple choice questions taken from all the topics. Apart from the multiple choice questions, here comes another section where you'll be asked to define or to explain words, terminologies in computers such as ALU, hardware, software, CPU, data, information, computer memory, computer, supercomputer, computer virus, computer network, and so on and so forth. But a word of caution here is this. I am not by no means telling you today that these are the terms I'm going to ask you. These are just kind of an example for you to know what should be expected. So don't come to me after the examination by saying, Mr. Edo, but you never mentioned any of these terms in your presentation. How come they are in our question paper? These are just sample terminologies, not limited to these only. Let's take another example. I ask you to define computer software. I ask you to discuss computer software. Is it the same question? Different verbs are used here. If I ask you to define, I'm asking you to give the meaning of that concept. If I ask you to discuss, it goes more than giving the meaning. I will now hereby refer you back to your study guide again. Do you know why I always refer you back to the study guide? That is our Bible here. If you go into your study guide, I'm not very sure now whether it's at the beginning or the end, you will see the definition, the explanation of each of these examination terms. Define, explain, evaluate, and so on. Get used to them. Let us take a sample. Before I give you a sample question, I want to talk about one of the verbs here. We say distinguish or differentiate. When a question says distinguish or a question says differentiate, what does that mean? I'm not asking you to define for me here. So if I ask a question by saying distinguish between ROM and RAM. Distinguish between ROM and RAM. If I go back to some of these terms here, this is ROM, this is RAM. Look at these two concepts. Distinguish between them. What is expected of you here? What are you expected to do here? Are you going to define and leave it that way? No. If you look at this, it's all written in capital letter. When it is written in capital letter, it's not a word on its own, it's an acronym. Meaning each letter stands for a particular word. For example, for you to answer the question, first of all, give the meaning of ROM. Read only memory. Random access memory. Give the meaning first. Thereafter, you can now explain what it means. So I'm going to give read only memory. Then I explain what it means. For example, I can say read-only memory is a memory that contains instructions that enables the computer to boot. That is an explanation of it. I can explain also random access memory. It's a memory where loaded programs that are currently running are. I'm just trying to give the definition, but by doing so, have I answered the question? Because my question says differentiate. Differentiate. When you say differentiate, now, what the examiner wants to see at this junction is your ability, your competency to bring out the difference between these two concepts. So in your differentiation, where you're going to differentiate, some students can use a tabular form where they bring out the differences. For example, I can say read-only memory is non-volatile, while random access memory is volatile. That is a difference. Can you see that now? I can go further to say the content of read-only memory cannot be altered, changed, modified by the computer user, while random access memory can be changed, altered by the computer user. With these 2 points, I've been able to bring out two differences between. So the examiner will see that you are able to give the explanation. Number one, the examiner can see that you are able to bring out the differences between the two. However, if you give me only the definition, you only get maybe just 1 mark, because you have not really answered the question which says differentiate. So when the study guide writer put out the explanation of all this terminology, do not ignore them. It is one thing to know. It is another thing to know how to answer the questions. That's why some students, they call after the examination, Mr. Edo, but I wrote a lot of things. How come did I fail? These are some of the reasons. Let us take a sample question. I'm not telling you this is a question coming. It's a sample question. The question read thus: discuss the advantages and disadvantages of using the internet. Let us digest a bit of this question. Let us look at the components that exist in this question. Number one, I'm going to discuss, not explain, not describe, not define, not list. I'm going to discuss. If I ask you as a friend, let us discuss how we are going to spend the holiday. You see, discuss. So, I know when I pick up a question and I say discuss, do I know what it means to discuss? What am I going to discuss here? The question tells advantages and disadvantages. So if you discuss only the advantages, even if you give me 1 million advantages without discussing disadvantages, you have not answered the question fully. Because I said advantages and disadvantages of what? Using the internet. Not using the computer. Using the internet. How do you go about it? You mention, first of all, you write the advantage. For example, you talk about the advantage of using the internet. I can say e-learning. E-learning. Number one, e-learning. Then I have to now discuss it and give examples. Another one, electronic banking. I try now, I list it first, then I discuss it. Then I give examples. When I'm done with the advantages, what next should I do? You now go to the disadvantages. You mention defect, then you discuss again. Then you get your full marks. You know one thing? I'm a tutor that can give 100 over 100. I'm not giving you free. You earn it. So there is no way you will get 100 over 100 that I will say no. Let me keep part of it. No. It's never done. If you are a first-class student, I will never deprive you of that. I will give it to you if you get everything correctly. Let's look at another example. Using the diagram to explain concepts. There is this unit in your study guide, I guess in Unit 1. Not guessing, it is in Unit 1 of your study guide. I'm very sure of that. Where it is expected of you to know the component of a computer system. When I ask you, for example, use a diagram to discuss the component of a computer system. Use a diagram to explain the component of a computer used. Always pay attention to that. Explain, discuss. Now, what is this that is expected of you? If you look at a computer system, it's a process, especially when the question says, use a diagram to explain a computer system. This is what you should do. First of all, draw the diagram. Label all the components of the diagram. After labeling the component of the diagram, as you now start to explain each of the components of the diagram. And it must be logical. It must be in process. You see, some student will say, okay, Mr. Aidubet, I drew the diagram. I explained the component. How come did I fail it? The question is that, was it logical? Did you sequence it? What am I trying to say? If I ask you to explain to me now, how will you put it? Let's look at it this way. You cannot put input at the end and put output at the beginning. In computer, input, processing, outputs. So if your diagram, you are labeling your diagram, the first thing that I see in your diagram is output. Then after output, you put input. Then you put processing at the end. Although all the components are there, they are not in sequential order. Input first, talk about processing, then you can talk about outputs. When it comes to this discussion, it must also be in that sequence. First of all, discuss the input. What is the input unit? Give examples of input devices. Then you continue with processing. Give the subunits that are in the processing. Talk about the storage. Talk about the central processing unit. Talk about the control unit and all the components that are there in the processing. Then you move to the output unit. It must be in that logical form. I cannot ask you this. Tell me how I'm going to get to Udangwa. Then you say you get to Umutia, from Umutia you get to Shuarungo, from Shuarungo, Okanja, then Oshivelo. It doesn't work that way. You must be in order. Okanja, Shuarungo, and so forth and so forth, until you get to the end. Do you understand that, my beloved student? You will pass. 2022 is a year of passing. Can somebody say amen to that? I'm not here to pray for you, but I'm here to wish you well. So don't just say amen without working for it. Even the Bible made it clear that faith without work is dead. Faith. So work for it. Man, work for it. Just follow everything that I'll be telling you all this while. Let us look at additional suggested reading points. But not limited to this. I always use that word, not limited to this. So that you don't say, the point you give us in the exam is not in your reading point. No, I'm just trying to kind of guide you. Picking randomly from your study guide. Have you read about the use of smartboard in teaching and learning? How can a smartboard help a teacher? How can a smartboard enhance the learning process? What about computer network? Can you describe what a computer network is? What are the various types of computer network? Do you know? Can you mention 1, 2, 3? Can you explain them? Do you know that there are health problems that comes from the use of computers? You see me wearing the glasses? It's because of the frequent use of computer systems since 1999. So if I ask you, discuss health problems that comes from the frequent use of computer, what are you going to do? You identify them, you discuss them. However, you must be very careful that you do not repeat words by using synonyms. For example, you talk about computer affecting the eyes. The second point, you want to talk about computer affecting the vision. These are just synonyms. It earns you the same mark. Classifications of computer. What are the input devices? What are the good computer habits? Do you know how to install a computer software? Can you uninstall a computer software? What is the difference between deleting and uninstalling? If I'm going to remove a computer software from the computer, do I say uninstall or do I say delete the software? What is the right way? You uninstall a software. You only delete a file. These little things, you get to know them. Can you classify computers? What are the various categories, classes of computers? The supercomputer, the mainframe computer, the microcomputers. Do you know them? You get to know them before 2022. The practical areas. How to start a computer. How to shut down a computer. How to create a folder. How to save a document. How to print a document. All these you must know. What is the difference between click and double click on the mouse? What happens if I click? Don't just take, when I read at times, there are some comedy papers you laugh. You say, click, I press, bam. Double click, I click, bam, bam. Is that not what I'm asking you? I'm not asking you, bam, bam, here. What happens when I click? What should I click on? What happens when I double click? Click is used for what? Double click is used for what? So just write, when I read some question paper, I say bam, click. Another one will say double click, bam, bam. I don't know what is called bam, bam. Practice on the computer. You will know all these things. The final thing I'm going to discuss with you before the end of the day is this. Computer literacy is divided into two. We have the computer literacy, which is 80% of your marks. We have the library science, which is 20% of your marks. And what I have seen for the past few years is that students tend to ignore the second part of the course outline. They tend to ignore the other parts that focuses on library science and focus only on computer literacy. 20% of your marks is from library science. And that covers unit 4, 5, 6, and thereabout. You must know these following library concepts. What are the various parts of a book? How do you locate a book in a library? What are the components of a magazine? What are fictions? What are the difference between a fiction and a non-fiction books? Can you give an example? So, holistically, computer literacy here comprises of computer and library science. God told the Israelites through Moses, if you obey all these things, you will prosper. You will get to the promised land, the Canaan land that I have promised your forefathers. Mr. Edo is telling you, if you do all what I have been saying for the past 40 minutes, you will not just pass, you will pass with ace. And that is my wish and prayer for all of you. May somebody say amen to that. I wish you all the best. And I wish to see you that day when you will see fly in your black gown as a graduate of the best institute on earth, IOL. Should you have any problem, don't forget to contact me. I am paid to assist you. All the best in your examination. Thank you.